Welcome, Umberto. Welcome, Irene. Welcome, Nicole. And welcome, Sheila. How are you today?
Hi, I hope that you can hear me. I'm fine.
Oh, yes. Okay. Let me just check my headphones. Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you perfectly.
Good, good. So, just to remind me, Umberto, you're in Veracruz, as is Sheila. Um, and
Yes.
Nicole is in Cartagena in Colombia,
Yeah, she
uh,
is.
as is Irene. And Carla's also in Colombia. Great.
Yes, correct. Hi.
How did you get on with the work that I left you? Were you able to do your work online on the platform?
Well, I read about reading skills. That's basically what I did. There
Good.
was also a quiz, I guess. I took it. I didn't do very well because I did it before I read, and I realized that I had to read, and I did.
Ah.
But I did. I mean, I read.
That's okay. Don't worry. I mean, we're going to be recycling some of the stuff. I have a bit of review. Have a bit of a review of reading subskills today. Um, as you can see from the menu, we'll have a look at the reading paper, the types of reading tasks, how to deal with multiple choice questions, and we'll look at finally how to teach reading skills. All right. Now, it would be useful to download the TKT glossary if you don't have it already, because a lot of this terminology is in this glossary, yeah? Just to refresh our memories of the terminology. All right. Any questions before we begin? Let's get started then. It would be nice if people, I know people are a bit shy, but if you could turn on your video camera, that would be nice so that we could see your face and it makes it easier to participate and communicate with each other. All right. If you could turn on your videos, it's not obligatory because I know that sometimes it reduces the speed, the Wi-Fi, but it would be good if you could. So, here's a definition of reading from Thornbury, 2006. It's a receptive skill. But the fact that it is receptive does not mean that it is passive. Right? Reading is an active, even interactive process. Readers bring their own questions to the text, which are based on their background knowledge, and they use these to interrogate or question the text. And they modify the questions and come up with new ones according to the answers they get. Right? So that's what a good reader should do, really. Um, and here are, let's say, possibly, the three basic reading skills, aren't they? Yeah. Skimming, sometimes known as reading for gist, scanning or reading for specific information, and reading for detail. Okay, it's Nicole saying she's sick. She's going to excuse herself. All right, you don't have to participate, but Perhaps you could watch the video, the recording at the end, because it is going to be recorded, Nicole. Eh? All right. Can you think of any other reading subskills apart from the ones mentioned here and that might happen on the IELTS reading exam? Do you know of any other names of reading subskills?
In my case, I do not.
Well, I don't know any official name, but I don't know, maybe the ability to summarize the information.
Uh-huh. Is that a reading subskill or is it a writing subskill? Obviously, the two interact there, don't they? Because to be able to summarize, you need to read, right? I'd say it's more of a writing skill, but it's relevant. Yeah. I would say, how about reading for inference or inferring? Yeah. Now, this is like inferring the writer's opinions, right? Sometimes they may have ideological or political positions that we can sort of infer from the text. Yeah, so I would probably add that to the list of the subskills that will be developed in the
What
IELTS
about
exam. Yeah, go on.
what about reading between the lines?
Yeah, I would include that as inferring, right? Because it's perhaps it's something that's not stated in the
Okay.
text, but it could be inferred. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I would say yes. That's like a more informal way of saying inferring, right? So reading between the lines. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's a valid one. Okay, so now before we talk about tasks, I think I'm going to give you a little activity to do on WordWall, so that we can actually just check your knowledge of some of these subskills. So I'm going to put this into the chat now, if it will allow me. Yes, it will. Please click on the word wall. Give you a few minutes, how about 4 minutes, to try and match as many as you can in 4 minutes. I'm going to set the clock. No. So, are you able to access this word wall? So, skimming, let's do the first one together.
I was able to access. Thank you.
Reading a text quickly to get a general idea of what it's about, right? Inferring attitude or meaning, what we've just talked about. Yes, there we go. So that's to decide how a writer or speaker feels about something from the way that they speak or write, rather than from what they openly say or the words they use. Welcome, Jorge. Jorge, I've just shared with you this word wall. Hope you can access it. If you missed anything, you can go back, watch the video later. All right, so those are the correct answers. Now, notice scanning and skimming are only done in reading. If it's listening, then it would be skimming would be listening for gist. Yeah. Because skimming is something you do with your eyes. Yeah, you move it quickly over the surface. And whereas scanning is also you move with your eyes. It's often left to right across the text, looking for specific numbers and pieces of data information, right? Like a telephone number or the price of something, right? So the equivalent of scanning in listening skills would be listening for specific information. Any doubts so far? Questions? All right. Well, maybe save your questions for the end if you may have any. Let's move on to the overview of the IELTS reading exam, reading test. And then we'll come back to how to teach these subskills a little bit later, once we've seen their importance for the exam. So we kind of went over the different parts of the exam last time, didn't we? Now, overview. For both general training and academic, it's a 60-minute paper, 3 sections, 40 questions, whether it's AC or general training. So let's see the masterclass advice for the reading part of the test. So all materials used in the IELTS test are originally designed for a non-specialist audience and are of general interest. The students don't need to have any specialist knowledge to do well in the test. Now, at least one of the reading passages contains detailed logical argument. There are 40 questions based on 3 reading passages with a total of 2,200 to 2,750 words. Quite a lot of words. The difference with the general training reading is that it has a different objective to the academic reading test. Its objective is to test language in a workplace or work training context, such as, can you think of any situations? Could be applying for a job.
Or traveling. I mean, maybe getting to know a new city or something like that.
Yeah, it could be traveling for work, yeah. It could also be using workplace facilities or staff development is a possible topic, yeah. Move on. So how are they tested? There are a range of question types in the reading papers for both AC and GT. These ensure that the candidates are being tested on a variety of skills. These skills can be characterized by the terms skimming, scanning, reading for detail. Key purpose of these skills is to improve your reading speed and efficiency. Right? Adults are expected to read quite quickly, aren't they? So for those who aren't too sure about the difference, skim reading is reading for general gist or the main idea. It's reading extensively for the main purpose or content of the text. This is a skill that students will often do in their first language. You don't read every word or sentence, so get them to practice doing it when they read in English. Whereas scanning is reading to locate a specific piece of information, like reading a train timetable. You're trying to find what time the train to Querétaro is leaving, right? Reading for detail, intensive reading, but you will only ever have to read part of a passage in detail. This brings me to a common mistake in the reading part of the test, reading the whole text in detail instead of first reading the questions. All right. So always read the questions first. Get that across to the students to find out what you have to do. If you have to match headings to sections of the passage, read the headings first so that they can focus on the main ideas they need to look for. Now, some candidates make the mistake of reading to try and understand every word. Now, that's about 900 words in the reading passage. In fact, they may only need to skim read the text to answer 6 questions. So matching headings to paragraphs, right? Then maybe just read 300 words, which could be the last 2 paragraphs in detail to do a gap fill task with 7 questions. As I said before, they don't have to be a specialist on the topic. If the text is about sharks, you don't have to be a marine biologist to get all the answers. The IELTS question paper production process is very strict and is trialed extensively before any questions go live. No candidates will be disadvantaged, no matter what their background is or what they've studied. So that's why we can say with confidence that IELTS tests our reading skills, not our knowledge. That makes sense? Hope so. Welcome to Paulina. Did I welcome Paulina? Welcome, Paulina.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Yeah. No, Paulina, this is being recorded, so don't worry if you missed anything. Not to get concerned because you will see the recording on the platform later. All right. You can
Thank you
go
very
back
much.
and watch it.
Thank you. I got the chance to arrive when we were in the activity of the reading and listening, and well, guess or analyze which part of the skills we had to match. So
Yeah.
I think I didn't miss much, but thank you very much.
Great. Okay. So question types. Do you know what are you familiar with any question types? If so, you can post your answers in the chat. Put your answers in the chat if you're familiar with any multiple choice, says Paulina, right? Yes. Any others? Matching headings, right. Yeah, for often used as a gist task. Reading for gist. Sentence completion, complete the gap. Okay. Now let's see which ones are mentioned. All right, so you should get to know the full range of question types used as they test different skills. Now, the ones with the little star means that they come in the same order as the questions for most, so that the answers come in the same order as the questions, right? And this is the case for most of them. So this will help the students to figure out where to look for the answers. So we've got multiple choice, we've got short answer questions, we've got sentence completion, as was mentioned in the chat. We've got notes, summary, diagram, flowchart, and table completion. There's labeling a diagram. There's classification. There's matching. Choosing suitable headings from a list, as Irene mentioned. There's the identification of the writer's views or claims. So that could be an inferencing type question. And there could be identification of information in the text. True, false, or not given. Irani says there's also providing open sentences to a paragraph. Yes. Yes, I mean, that's to develop topic sentence, knowledge of topic sentences and how they work, right? So that would be like a gist, reading for gist activity. Yeah. Good. All right. Do you read magazine or newspaper articles? How do you decide which articles to read? I mean, it's a good idea to encourage your students to read lots of different articles from magazines and newspapers in English, so they can practice these skills of just reading. And it's regular reading of serious magazines and newspapers will not only improve their reading skills and vocabulary, it will help them with the writing, the speaking, and the listening papers, right? So get them to read as much as possible. Once you have decided what to read, do you read it quickly or in detail? What's your way of reading? Any comments on that? Sheila says 3, slowly and carefully. Oh, okay. Read every detail. Yeah. It depends on what I'm reading. For me, and how engaged I am with the text. Very often, if I pick up a newspaper, I do sort of skim over the headlines and pictures until I find an article that interests me, right? I don't slowly and deliberately read every part of the magazine. So I'm often pick up a newspaper or magazine with a question in mind. For example, what's the latest situation in the war in Ukraine? So then I know that I head to the international news section and skim over the headlines until I find an article that interests me. Oh. All right, let's have a look at predicting the context. Any ideas about this question? What activities can you do to predict the context? And what other skills can you use to find the answers quickly? Sheila says reading the first couple of lines of each paragraph. Yeah. That makes sense. What about the heading and the subheading? Is that reading that? Will that help you to predict the context? Yeah. I'm not sure about scanning yet because that's maybe like a second reading activity after you've done the gist. Let's have a look at the suggested answers. So, expert readers usually use the following strategies when they have to read fast. So, we can predict the passage by reading the heading and subheading. This will help us to contextualize the topic of the passage. There is no need to skim the passage at this stage. So they just need the context to raise schemata. Can you remember what schemata means? It's a bit of a fancy Latin word, and it means really using your background knowledge of the world. Yeah, background knowledge. Right. So after that, the reading skills that they can use will depend on the type of the question. So here I'm going to explain different kinds of reading tasks. So when we're talking about the main idea, there's sorry, type that should say 2, shouldn't it? There's a mistake there. So type 1 is what is the writer's opinion or attitude? Type 2, what's the main point in paragraph in any given paragraph? And type 3 is to pick from a list, choosing 2 options to answer the question. So the recommended strategy is to locate the paragraph and skim it. Try and answer the question without looking at the options, and then use that answer that you answer to this question to help you choose the right option. Right, so let's look at a specific example, right? Now, do the following statements agree with the information given in the passage? So we write true if the statement agrees with the information, false if the statement contradicts the information, or not given if there's no information on this. Remember that the statements will not be expressed in the same way as in the text, so look for key words in the statements and find similar words or phrases in the text. So, Aboriginal Australians are descended from the inhabitants of Africa. Number 2, ancestors of the Aborigines settled in Australia about 80,000 years ago. Aboriginal Australians are the most genetically diverse race in the world. So, could you put your answers to 1, 2, and 3 into the chat and put true, false, or not given? I'll give you a few minutes couple of minutes to read these. Irene says number 1 is true. What about the rest of you? Paulina says 2 is number false. Number 2 is false. Sheila says number 3 is not given. Ah. Shall we confirm? So number 1 was true. The answer is here in the first paragraph, highlighted there for you. Oops. So number 2 was false. Because it says that Aboriginal Australians arrived in a single migration to Australia about at least 50,000 years ago, not 80,000. And finally, not given. Aboriginal Australians are the most genetically diverse race in the world. Well, there's certainly a lot of genetic diversity between Aboriginal people in Australia, but it doesn't say that they're the most genetically diverse in the world, does it? Yeah. All right. Here's some important advice. Look out for synonyms. Advise the students to look out for synonyms in the text. Settled in Australia means arrived in a single migration, or is equivalent to. Or distractors like genetic diversity does not mean the same thing as culturally diverse. They put those in there to deliberately trick us, don't they? These distractors. So, always start by reading the questions. Get the students to decide which reading skill is being tested. Is it skimming, scanning, reading for detail? Only then go to the reading passage. When reading, don't be put off by words they don't know at first. Remind them they should try to work out their meaning from the context or the surrounding words. Recommend Reading any headings, titles, or subtitles first. Look out for footnotes with definitions of any technical terms. These could be in the form of labeled illustrations, such as hieroglyphics, right, in a passage about early writing systems. So get them to note the number of words allowed in their answer. They shouldn't worry about words they don't know. Unusual words will often be explained within the text. If the word isn't explained, it isn't important. They shouldn't waste any time on any one question they're having trouble with. Remember that no extra time is allowed for completing their answers on the answer sheet, so they have to be careful with their time management. Now, if it's paper-based, answers should be filled in directly in pencil on the answer sheet. Do you know how it's done on the computer? Delivered IELTS? IELTS on computer? Do they write their answers on a separate piece of paper, or do they do it on the screen?
They do it directly on the screen, right?
Yeah, they answer it directly on the screen on the computer-based. So they have to answer 40 questions in 60 minutes. Get them to answer the questions they find easier first. Then go back to any unanswered questions if they have time at the end. They should never leave a blank on the answer sheet. It's always better to guess because there's no penalty for the wrong answers. Now, if they want to get 6 and above, they need to get between 30 and 34 right answers, right, out of 40, depending on which test format they take. Now, if they're doing paper-based, they can actually write on the question papers, but the examiner doesn't look at the question papers. In the computer IELTS, there's a highlighting function that they can use. Now, if they want to get a 6, they should get 30 out of 40. If they want to get a 7 and above, they need to get 34 out of 40 for the general training. For the academic, out of 40, they would need to get a 6, 23. For a 7, they'd need to get 30 out of 40. For an 8, 35 out of 40. Any dudas, questions? Well, what we could do next is actually do some like IELTS type exam, sample exams to give you a taste of this. So I'm going to share with you a handout. Now, where did I get this material from? Well, I got it from the Cambridge website, which is a useful resource for us as teachers. So I got it from here, right? Sharing it in the chat now. And give me a second. Exam training, yes. So I downloaded this material from this website, and I've adapted it for you guys. Here's the handout. So this is about multiple choice questions. So imagine you're a class of students preparing for the IELTS, and this is general training. They're mainly interested in general training. So it's obviously going to vary from group to group. Sometimes you'll have a mixed group, won't you? Some are interested in academics, some in general training. Now, you can see there are different types of multiple choice questions here. Example 1. Question 27. And they're asked to choose the correct letter A, B, C, or D. And they write their answer in box 27. And the question is, when do the ants in Ant World need to be fed? Daily, every day, every 3 days, weekly, or monthly? Example multiple choice question 2. Example 2, question 8. They have to choose 2 letters A to F. Which 2 refreshments are served without charge on the airport coach? And example 3, questions 5 to 7, they choose 3 letters A to F. Which 3 of these animals can be seen at Rushton Zoo? Example 4, choose the correct answer A, B, C, or D. Which of the following is most suitable for the text on pages 8 and 9? Now, can you tell me what is the difference between these question types? Any ideas? You can open your mics and tell me if you're not shy.
I don't know if I'm right, but the number of correct answers, like one of the questions, search for 2 types
Yeah.
of the multiple choices. Another one for
Yeah,
3.
which one?
Example number 2.
That's right, Paulina. Yes, correct.
As only for 2 answers.
Yeah.
Another one is looking for 3, and there is another one that only needs 1 correct answer.
Yes, is that Example 1 or example 4?
I think, well, one is asking only for one,
That's right. What about example 4?
and four. Oh my God. Well, this one is also asking for one.
Yes, you're right.
Most
Yeah,
suitable.
that's right. But there is a bit of a difference between example 1 and example 4 in terms of the reading skills, isn't there? Can anyone tell me what the difference is?
Well, one is I don't know if I'm right because I cannot read like that fast, but one is asking like the heading or the most suitable title, and the other
Yeah.
one is asking
Yes,
for
yes,
one.
that's example 4. Yeah, that's like yeah, the heading, exactly. Yeah. So what type of reading skill is example 4?
Could be. I don't know if it would be reading on detail or scanning. No, because in scanning we are not looking for specific words. But I don't know if by skimming,
You're
only
right.
skimming.
It's skimming, yes, or reading for gist is number 4, right? Correct, because it's a global understanding of the text, isn't it? Number 4. But look at example 1. Is this also a skimming, or is it more of a reading for detail? Yes, I mean it could be scanning. It depends if you can actually find one of those answers. Does it state it? Yeah, I mean probably it's scanning, yeah. Unless it's not stated explicitly, that would be reading for detail. But if it's said like every day, right? In the text, yeah, that could be a scanning activity. It's difficult to say because we don't actually have the text in front of us, right? No, but it's certainly not just, or skimming. Now, I'd like you to look at this reading text. Can you see it at the end of your document? The IELTS reading exam handout. Yeah. And the first word is greenhouse gases. Now, I'd like you to please look at the first few words of each paragraph to find out in general what the text is about. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to do this. Okay? Starting now. Just the first few words of each paragraph. All right, so time's up. That was very quick, wasn't it? Now, anyone have any ideas? In general, what is the text about? Without going into too much detail.
Well, they're talking about gases, and specifically called how using this type of fuel it's affecting, and how they are trying to find new ways to improve the use of that element.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. Now, in order to save time on the reading paper, students must not read every word or try to understand all the text. So we've already mentioned they should use skimming and scanning to find the answers and then go to reading in detail. With multiple choice questions, they should skim and scan for information relating to the question stem. Now, what do we mean by question stem? Now, it's a technical term. I'll put it into the chat. The question stem is the part of a question that comes before the answer choices and asks the question itself. It sets up the context and provides a clear task for the reader. All right, so let me repeat. With multiple choice questions, they must skim and scan for information relating to the question stem, not the answer choices, as these are often distractors. So if they start looking at the answer choices, that could get them confused, right? Because most of them will be distractors, right? There's only actually one correct answer very often, right? Now, going to give you I've made a little task for this. Where is it? Yes, here we are. So please click on the link I've sent you into the chat. So what I'd like you to do is skim read all the question stems quickly. All right, I'm going to give you 30 seconds for that to read all the question stems quickly. So here are the question stems, right? Don't start looking at the options, just the question stems. How many are there? There are 6. I'll give you 20 more seconds to do that. All right. Why is question 6 different? Why is question 6 different? Any ideas? You can open your mic and share your answer.
Well, this one is not looking for specific information from the text. It's just
Yeah.
trying to get you to get the general idea of the text.
Exactly right. Yeah, and there is no question stem there. Actually, it's yeah, and it requires an overview of the passage, and there's no question stem in that one. It's kind of the odd one out. Now, here's the question stem for question 1. You can see it on the board there. So I deliberately don't want you to look at the answer choices. Can you think how these words global increase global increase and the other one is has been attributed to. How could these be expressed in different ways in the text itself?
Is largely related, or might be, is largely related to the compound effects.
Largely related to. Okay, that could be a paraphrase as has been attributed to. Yeah. Okay. What about this word increase? Do you think there might be a word in the text that's like increase? Can you think of a synonym for increase? Have you heard the word rise? Could be rise, right? And so, yeah, worldwide. Yeah, or growth. That's correct, Irene. And that could be a different way of saying attributed to, right? Might be due to. No. I'd like you to skim and scan the text until you find the part with the answer in it, and then read that question carefully. So let's have a look at the actual text. Where can we find the answer to this question number 1? We close that. Here's our text.
Can you please zoom it up a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
But I sent it through the chat, yeah? So you've got a PDF version of this.
Yes, I received it, but I make easier to read here.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So where do you think we can find the answer to that question number one?
The
Which
first two
paragraph?
lines of the paragraph, the first
Yeah.
paragraph.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so we can see that the questions are usually follow the sequence of the information in the text, don't they? Right. Now, uncover the options A to D. You should read them all and choose which one they think is the best fit. You must read carefully, as there may be two options that are very similar, but one is more accurate than the other. There may be just one word that distinguishes the two and makes one a better answer than the other. So we can go back to our Google form for that, because that's where the questions are. The options are. Is it going to be A, B, C, or D?
The first one, the first one
Paulina
is
says D.
D. Yeah, the first one is D.
Why, Sheila?
D. Well, the one, the answer I gave before in the first two lines, they are explaining that
Yeah.
this is due to the increasing of population and their quality in their lives, the
Yeah.
improving of their standards of life.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in really big countries like China and India, right?
Yeah.
There's the whole thing about global climate change really didn't start to hit the headlines until China and India started to really grow. That's right. Does everyone agree with that then? Anyone have a different answer? Jorge, you agree? Umberto?
100%.
No problem with that? Carla and Nicole?
I agree with
No.
Chip.
Okay. Great. Now, I'd like you to try to focus on the stems of the rest of the questions. And then paraphrase the question stems and then compare with their partner. Okay, I think one of the best way is to do this is just to let you do 2 to 6 yourselves, all right? And then I'm going to put you in pairs in breakout rooms to compare how you did it, all right? But remember the procedure should be skim and scan the text looking for the relevant section for each question stem. Once you've found it, read the relevant section and read the answer choices. As the questions are in the correct order in the text, you should work on one question at a time and find the answer before moving on to the next question. All right. So, how long should I give you for it? About 6 minutes. Starting now. I'm going to ask you not to submit the answers until you've compared your answers with your partner. So just decide which is the right answer for each one before I put you into breakout rooms. 1 minute left. Choose your answers, but don't submit yet, because I'm going to put you into breakout rooms like right now. So you can discuss what you think are the right answers. Also, discuss with your partner the strategies that you used. Did you use this strategy of reading the question stem? Trying to paraphrase the question stems? Here are some possible paraphrases for the question stems. Number 2. Number 3. And number 4. 5. Put you into breakout rooms for 5 minutes for a discussion. Hi, Etor. Please go into the breakout room. Nicole, if you're able to, it'd be great if you could go into the breakout room. Because Paulina needs a partner. Thank you. So, as teachers, how did you feel about doing this task? Did you think it was useful to actually do it, to
Yeah.
sort of experience the processes that we go through, right? When we're reading. What did you notice?
Well, I noticed that we put into practice some of the techniques and the concepts that we saw a few minutes before. So some of them I was used to them, but a couple of them not so much. So right now I use them.
Paulina, I heard you mentioning some of the synonyms, like ones for increase or
Yeah.
approximately.
Well, it was kind of hard for me because I'm a really distracted person, and I had to go back like a lot to the text and the questions. But something that helped me a lot was like looking for the synonyms, and I saw like enhance was the same or the synonym of increasing, and there's where I found the like the answer. That's it. Well, and approximately we said like it was synonym of thought to be about.
Uh-huh.
And I think those were like the most or the closest synonyms we could identify.
Great, yeah. Thank you for that. Any other comments? Observations? Before we check the answers? Okay, so if no more, then please submit. Choose your answer and submit. Let's check. These Google Forms I find are very good if you're teaching IELTS preparation online, because you can actually take a picture of the text and upload it, and then it's actually easy, quite easy to adapt these questions into Google Forms. All right, so yes, the answer to number 1, trends in population and lifestyle. Proportion of all greenhouse gases created by coal is approximately, 18%. Right. Yeah, that's kind of, in Mexico, we're not really familiar with that because it's mostly gas and what is it? It's combustolio. I think they're using the Tula plant near Mexico City. What do you use in Colombia to generate electricity? Is it water power from dams and stuff, or is it gas? This sort of discussions you can have after
It depends
they've done the reading. Yeah.
on what, for that question, it depends on the part of the country where you are. If you're in the middle of the country, which is the Andean region, it is from dams.
Yes, I thought it might be.
And most of the energy comes from dams that they have in the middle of the in the middle of Colombia.
Yeah. Also, if you're using Google Forms, you can use this response and you can see how many of the students got it right, right? So there's like one student got 14%, said it was 14%, and what was not right. But most of us got this right. So well done, 18%. Current research aims to increase the energy producing efficiency of coal by using, yes, everyone got that right. Well done. Also, 100% correct. New clean coals may generate power more cleanly and more efficiently. To control dust at mine sites, mining companies often use runoff water, yes. Not fresh water. So one person got it wrong there. But yeah, coal industry and the environment is the overall best choice. Pollution in coal mining. Pollution control. It's not a bad answer though, is it? Yeah, I can understand why you went for that one. Good. Now, question, how do I prepare my students to develop reading subskills? Well, you may be familiar with this framework, the pre, while, and post framework, lesson planning. So in the pre, there's usually activation of schemata or background knowledge. And this is part of what we call top-down strategies. And we also usually pre-teach some vocabulary so they're not getting stuck when they're trying to decode individual words. For the actual while reading, give them a purpose for reading. So always make sure that you give the task before you provide the text. So make it interesting and relevant, vary the strategies. In your post lesson, ask them to respond to the topics of the text, make them reflect on what they found hard in the text, so they're considering the reading strategies, and maybe ask them 3 things that they learnt. Encourage your students to combine top-down and bottom-up strategies in reading, and keep them engaged in the task. So, how do I prepare students for a reading test? Well, you could develop task awareness, how long the reading exam lasts, the number of parts, how long they have to do for each part, tasks they can find in each part, how to answer the questions, and the length of the text. And all of these things we've sort of covered in today's session, I hope. Then we can also develop exam skills and strategies. To help with this, we can simplify the task and simplify the text a little bit. How do we do it? Well, for the task, include fewer questions. Yeah. Text, so you could perhaps use a text like today's, but reduce it. So for when you're beginning your preparation, simplify some of these elements like the task and the text. Have fewer distractors, but include ones that offer opportunities to practice a particular exam strategy. With the text, you could pre-teach some of the unknown words. Another option is to use these difficult words to help students find the meaning by context. Regarding the task, provide an example of how an answer is correct or incorrect. Get them to look at the text structure, help them to make relationships between sections in the text. Highlight parts of the text where answers can be found. And regarding the text, practice vocabulary and develop background knowledge needed to tackle exam topics. So they need to be familiar with the sorts of topics they're going to find out. They're going to be presented with, like the environment. If they're not interested in the environment, well, tough, because, you know, the chances are that that sort of thing is going to turn up in the IELTS. Introduce exam conditions. Gradually approximate the class conditions to an exam room's conditions. Have them work individually, not providing any guidance. Enter answers on a separate answer sheet. Work on improving reading speeds. Help them to distinguish between essential and non-essential words, working out the meaning from context. And work out the meaning from word forms, such as synonyms, using prefixes, and so on. Okay, so we've kind of mentioned that so far. Looking at the title, making predictions, skimming the text to get the general idea, reading the test items, using specific procedures for each type of task, and if not sure, go on to the next question. Any doubts? I thought we could finish with a Kahoot quiz on the reading paper, just to consolidate your knowledge. So, you know how Kahoot works, don't you? Just log in. So it goes almost to the end. Already?
Just a little bit, please.
All right, let's begin. Sorry, it's frozen. So how many sections are there in the reading test? Should be easy enough. Ah, it's 4, not 2. How long does it last? That probably is going to be the next question. Yes, 20 minutes, because you've got an hour for the whole thing, and there are 4 sections. Does that add up? 20 minutes. Huh. That's wrong, isn't it? Shouldn't it be? Check that later. What should you do when you begin a reading section? Yes, you should read the title of the passage really, because that's the one that's going to give you the context of the whole text, right? It's all about activating your background knowledge. Then you would read the questions, the stems, right? Yeah, because the questions come in sections, and that's how it's designed. So make sure the students are working section by section. Carla is in the lead, followed by me. Sheila is doing a lot better. Well done. You can normally find the main idea of a paragraph by reading the first and last sentence of that paragraph. Yes, it's true, because usually the first sentence of the paragraph is known as the topic sentence, right? And the last sentence often summarizes it or provides some new information that will then be picked up in the next paragraph. But definitely the first sentence of the paragraph, yeah? Scanning for repeated words in a paragraph can also help you find the main idea. Yes, that makes sense. No, okay, so why is this correct? Why is it Rome office study in boat? Well, those are all nouns, and nouns, as well as adjectives and adverbs and main verbs, carry a lot of the meaning, right? So that's why it says topic words, right? They guide us to the topic. Only some, more than, and always are what we call function words. They have a sort of grammatical or modification. They're modification words, yeah, not topic words. Detail words. Yeah, good job. Most of us got that right. And these are sort of modification words, aren't they? That will help you sort of narrow down the answer to a true, false, and not given. Irene climbing up the scoreboard. Yeah, help you to locate the answer in the text. Yeah. Those help you to decide whether it's true, false, or not given. Scanning is oh, okay. If you got this one wrong, you need to think about why. Okay. Yeah, scanning is reading quickly to find specific words in the text, like, for example, in a text about prisons, how much does it cost to keep a prisoner in jail for 1 year? Right? So you read that quickly and find, okay, £4,000, yeah? And it will state it in the text somewhere. Yeah. Whereas reading for detail may mean that you have to read a whole sentence or a paragraph, sometimes inferring. Skimming. Yes, good job. Everyone got that one. Yeah, it's an adverbal number, isn't it? 20%, 30%, more than 50 of the people surveyed. Soup dishes in Vietnam. Yeah. Good. This type of exercise can be useful with your students to make them think about parts of speech. Not sure about that one. Not sure what the word would be there.
You can say fully, full.
Yeah, I would have thought it would be an
Prevent.
adverb. So that would be an adverb, wouldn't it?
Yes,
To
that's what
fully
I thought about.
prevent.
It was
Yeah.
fully prevent would be more than a verb. It would be like
Yeah.
to
Yeah, I think it's a mistake.
completely, it should be, yes, it should be something like
Yeah.
in order to
Should be an
completely
adverb,
prevent
yeah.
or fully prevent. Yes, it's an
Yeah.
adverb, not a verb.
So it's a
So I was
mistake.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, it's probably going to be an adjective, like, because the previous one is also an adjective. We can sort of infer that the
I'm trying to play every time I get the time, then I realize I'm trying to pick up on the computer and not on my cell phone. So I was like, oh, I'm running out of the time. But it should be an adjective, yes.
yes. And the last one, I think, is penultimate. Many. Looks like a. Yes, it would have to be countable because if it was uncountable, then it would be much. And then, yeah, or a lot of, if it wasn't uncountable. Final.
Oh my God, I chose the wrong one.
Yeah, like basketball, football, and so on. So who's the winners? It's like,
I love playing Kahoot with my students.
yes. And then the teacher always wins. No, just to make it realistic, right? Okay, so let's just remind you before we finish, we've got literally 3 minutes left, that you can access next week, next couple of weeks, we'll look at the listening paper. So you'll need to do this section 3, right? and I'll see you on February the 21st to look at listening. I will shortly upload today's recording so that you can review it if you need to. Any further doubts, questions, queries, worries, concerns, frustrations? I've registered your attendance, so thank you very much for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. It was
been
great.
great.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Have a nice
everyone.
weekend.
Yeah, you too.
You enjoy.
Yes.
Enjoy
Yes.
the weekend.
Bye.
Thanks for the class.
Yes, enjoy the Super Bowl
Enjoy
if you're
the
watching
class.
it. Yes.
Bye.
Enjoy
Thank
it.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So I just missed. Where should we register our attendance?
I've registered your attendance. You don't have to
Okay,
worry.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.